Disclaimer: this content is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. My name's Lena. I'm 29, and I haven't been able to stop replaying what happened that night behind the venue, at our engagement party. It's like this secret knot in my chest, twisting tighter every time I think about it. I made out with my ex. And now, he's saying we're done. It wasn't supposed to be like this. A few years ago, being with Jake felt like coming home. Safe, exciting in that quiet, familiar way. His hands on me were a promise, warmth, comfort, desire all tangled up. I remember the way he used to pull me close after work, that lazy kiss that lingered like we still had all the time in the world. But lately, those moments turned fragile, like I was holding on to a version of us that didn't exist anymore. The kisses got shorter, more mechanical. His touch, once eager, became hesitant, like he was weighing if he should pull away before I noticed. When we cuddled, his arms around me felt less like a refuge and more like a hold I couldn't escape. One night, he hugged me so tightly, I almost felt trapped, like I was just a possession he was demanding back. I think the moment I really knew things had changed was right before the party. We stood in the dim light of our apartment, his fingers barely brushing my cheek as if trying to remember how to love me. I wanted to reach for him, but instead, I stepped back. That's when I saw it, his hesitation, the distance in his eyes, and something in me shattered. That night, I wasn't just losing him, I was losing myself. Jake's a firefighter. He's the kind of man who's always running toward danger, never away from it. He's got this instinct to protect, to fix things with his hands, a trait I used to love. But lately, it feels like those hands are everywhere but on the right places. That night, as the engagement party buzzed behind the walls of the hall, he kept trying to grab me, in the kitchen, on the way to the car, even while we were talking. His fingers brushed my arm, sliding too fast, too urgent. But it wasn't the touch I needed. I wanted him to see me, really see me. To stop running from whatever was pulling us apart and to meet me there, in the quiet. I tried to tell him that, but the words caught in my throat. Every time I started, he'd cut me off with a quick kiss, like that would fix the distance I felt inside. One night, he pressed me into a hug that felt more like an anchor than a comfort, and I pulled away, heart pounding. I wanted to scream, "Please stop trying to fix me like this. I need you to listen first." He's so used to saving lives, saving people with his strength, that emotional vulnerability is foreign to him. But for me, without that, without him stepping in with understanding before his hands, I'm left feeling invisible and more alone than ever. I'm craving something that can't be burned away or dragged out of a burning building. I need him to hold my heart, not just my body. Jake caught my hand as I tried to pull away while we were clearing plates after dinner. His fingers were warm, but my skin prickled like I'd touched something electric, and not in a good way. "Hey, you okay?" he asked, his voice soft but steady. I forced a smile, squeezing my fingers free. "Yeah, just tired." Later, when he came up behind me on the couch, his hand sliding over my waist like he used to, something in me tensed. I wanted to melt into him, to feel that old spark, but instead I flinched, pulling away just a bit. He noticed. "Lena?" I looked up, trying to find the words but getting stuck in a web of confusion. He leaned down for a kiss, slow and careful, but my lips met his without warmth. It was like pressing into glass, close but no connection. He laughed softly, trying to lighten the moment, and gave a quick, playful smack on my backside. I jolted, a little embarrassed, maybe even irritated. "Jake, stop," I muttered, my voice barely steady. He blinked, clearly caught off guard. "I'm just trying to be close." I nodded, swallowing the knot in my throat, wishing I could want that closeness like I used to. But inside, I was shouting, "Why does everything have to turn into sex?" We were sitting at that little Italian place, the one Jake picked for the engagement dinner, trying to make it feel special. The candle flickered between us, but all I felt was the suffocating weight pressing down, like I was drowning in everything unsaid. Jake reached across the table, brushing my hand with his thumb. "You've been distant lately. What's going on, Lena?" His voice was gentle but edged with frustration, like he was walking a tightrope. I swallowed hard, trying to hold it together, but the tightness in my chest snapped. "You don't get it," I blurted, voice trembling. "It's like I'm invisible, Jake. You keep trying to fix this with touch, but you don't see what I'm breaking inside." His brow furrowed, eyes searching mine. "I'm trying to show you I love you." "No, you're trying to erase the space between us with your hands." I stood abruptly, the chair scraping harshly against the floor. Tears blurred my vision. That night, behind the venue, I kissed him because I was desperate to feel something real. "Something you stopped giving me." Jake's face shifted, shock, hurt, confusion, all at once. He didn't say a word. I sank back into my chair, head in my hands, heart pounding with shame. Why did I say that out loud? Why did I ruin what was supposed to be perfect? As the tears slid down, I hated myself a little more for what I'd done, and for what I'd become. Because now, it wasn't just about losing him. It was about losing who I thought I was in this story. Days passed like slow, heavy waves, dragging us further apart. The easy laughter and small touches that once filled our apartment faded into a quiet neither of us dared to break. Jake barely looked at me anymore. At work, he was the same fearless firefighter everyone admired, but at home, I saw the weight settling into his shoulders, the tight jaw, the silence that stretched between us like a canyon. I caught him staring out the window more than once, lost in thought, maybe wrestling with his own guilt and pain. I missed him more than I thought possible. I missed the way his hand used to find mine in the dark, the way his smile could make me forget the world outside. But every time I tried to bridge the gap, I hesitated. What if he didn't want me anymore? What if trying only made the fracture worse? One night, I found myself watching him sleep, his face soft in the low light, so human and vulnerable. It hit me that he was hurting, too. Not a villain in this story, just a man caught in the same storm. I curled up beside him, careful not to disturb the space between us. My heart ached with guilt and longing, and for the first time in weeks, I whispered to myself, "Do I want to try again? Or is this the moment I let go?" He was already asleep on the couch when she came downstairs, wrapped in her robe, the kettle hissing in the kitchen. His arm dangled off the side, phone still in his hand. A movie played softly on the TV, one they used to love. She stood watching him for a long time. His face was slack, peaceful in sleep. Once, that sight would have comforted her. Now it only ached. She patted over and gently lifted the phone from his fingers. Her thumb brushed his forehead before she kissed it lightly, letting her lips linger for half a second too long. He stirred but didn't wake. She sat beside him on the edge of the couch, not touching him, not crying. Just breathing in the quiet. In the morning, she'd ask him to move out. Not with anger. Just clarity. The kind that comes too late. But for now, she stayed close, holding on for just a moment more. He was already asleep on the couch when I came downstairs. The TV was still on, volume low, flickering shadows across the room. One of those old movies we used to watch together, the kind we knew by heart back when knowing each other felt easy. He must have fallen asleep mid-scene. One shoe off, one on. Phone still in his hand like he was waiting for something that never came. I stood there a while, just watching him. I didn't feel angry anymore. That part had passed. I walked over, took the phone from his hand, turned off the TV. Kissed his forehead, gently, like muscle memory, and sat beside him on the couch. And for the first time in a long time I wasn't hoping for anything. Just sitting in the quiet. Then she turns to us. I used to think love meant staying no matter what. That if you walked away, it meant you never really cared. But I've learned that's not true. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for both of you, is stop trying to salvage something that's already grown still in your hands. That ache you feel? That's not failure. It's recognition. We all want connection. Desire. To be seen, not just looked at. But what we don't talk about enough is safety. Emotional safety. The space to be messy, wrong, growing, and still held with care. I kept waiting for him to come closer. He kept waiting for me to make it easier. In the end, we both got tired of pretending we weren't waiting. So no, this didn't end with a grand gesture. Or a promise. He moved out a week later. Quietly. Kindly. And I didn't chase him. But I started chasing myself again. And I found her, the version of me I left behind while trying to be chosen. So if you're wondering what I learned, it's this: love should never feel like proving you're worthy of it. And leaving doesn't mean you gave up, sometimes, it means you finally chose you. She looks down, breathes in. And that's a beginning, too. Fade to black.